Hola, mi gente. So let me go and share this across the platforms so that everybody has access. So dame un minutito y déjame compartirlo. Mm, 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 mm. My neighbor he just got home and he is just loving up on his daughter. They are so cute together. Uh, sometimes this whole email situation is really, really trippy. Let's see. Oops, not that one. When I am in here. Just give me a second. Ay, Dios mío. Hold on, actually, let me do Facebook first. Okay. You're gonna love this. Go and go. Mm-mm-mm. Ah, this is so trippy. Okay, let me share this. All right, I have no idea where it went. Okay. Cool. Give me a second. You just gotta love it. You just gotta love it. Oops. Okay. I can't do that. All right. So, you love, okay. Gimme Another Me because this is working a lo de pastoso. Espérate un momento. Okay, so now I am officially live on Instagram and officially live on YouTube. And let me see if it'll let me share it on the Facebook. Um, uh, uh, uh. This is just like really strange. But it won't let me share. Give me a second. Let me, oh, wow. It might be helpful if I turn this. Okay. Give me a minute. Good Lord. Delete. I'm like blocking the screen with my boobs, aren't I? Let me move over to the side. Ay, Dios mío, mi gente. ¿Qué es la cosa? ¿Qué es lo que hay? This is the challenge of like one person doing a thing, right? It's like you're trying to figure out all the tech. And I don't know about live now. Here we go. Okay. There's that. Back to Instagram. Let's try this again. Live. Check the connection. Now let me turn the camera around. Dale. Ahí. Okay, word. Let me, one more thing here. Close this curtain because it gets a little strange. People looking at your back. ¿Cómo estamos, mi gente? Good Lord. Good Lord. So, I wanted to do, first of all, can I just tell you that I am not a bandwagon person. And so I was seeking a really wise and ripe time. So just in case Instagram is there and YouTube is here, I was seeking out a time that would be ripe for us to spend some time together. There's so much going on. There's so many folks doing amazing things, offering amazing services, supporting, just like straight up supporting, and that's exciting to me. Um, and also can be hella overwhelming, right? It's like there's so much coming at you in this time. And so I wanted to be mindful of that. So just in case, as I'm talking, I'm putting some charcoal, I'm getting started some charcoal so that we can together burn some offering and just be in a space of both being able to hold the tension between feeling like what the fuck and also like grateful for wherever we're feeling grateful. And to me, in offering to whatever like deity or whatever system of spirituality you hold to, for me, they should, and it should always have the capacity to hold both of the tensions of both joy and like, oh shit, what the fuck. So what I'm going to be burning is some Palo Santo and some frankincense, just as a gratitude and also as a kind of old school where we would start fires and offer to the elements and to the gods and goddesses, etc., to Great Spirit. We would offer as a prayer for our care and our well-being and the integrity of our relationship. So let me light this up. I thought about doing it before, and I'm like, like if we were together, I would be actually doing this right now in front of you, because I took a nap, and naps are super important, right? um, so as I'm lighting this, it'll do what charcoal does. And now I don't have. I'm not. This is not bamboo charcoal. Charcoal. It's not bamboo charcoal, which would be a healthier thing to burn in the air. For now, this is what I have, right? So I want us to do, while this is kind of heating up, a centering meditation. Let me, give me 1 second. Let me find one more thing, y'all. I just want to put the laptop as just a bit higher so it's easier for me to rock it. Anyway, mi gente, ¿cómo estamos? How are you doing? Like, there's this and there's the in this space. How are we? ¿Cómo estamos? I know that for me, I've been observing the times, and I don't know if you heard, but my background includes some very churchy stuff. And there was I grew up with a lot of this kind of alarm of end time type of situation. So I feel like my kind of default is to sit back and be in observation about what's going on in me and around me. And also I feel an incredible amount of gratitude because I'm like, one of the things that we'll talk about tonight in this live is really about the medicine of this time. And I'm very cautious around how quick we talk about like medicine or over spiritualized shit that's just like catastrophic. Or we'll like catastrophize everything and not really settle into a place of being able to kind of figure out where we are. We could try to figure out where the world is, but at the end of the day, it's where are you in your community? How is everyone? What's needed? What is not needed? And being able to be with that becomes important. So We got that going. All right, let me pull out. Let me get my deck ready. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to actually take a moment. I don't know what you're doing right now or where you're at. If you can get as comfortable as possible, my friends, like get comfy in your chair, sit back. Do you have your cafecito? If you got cafecito. If you don't have your cafecito, do you have some tea? If not your tea, your Sprite, whatever you need, do you have it? So that we could just be together for a little bit. And then we'll close when it feels ripe and aligned to close. So make sure you're comfortable so that we can really sit into a place to anchor. And the reason why I use the word anchor is because I want us to be able to cognitively imagine having something that no matter what the seas are like or what's happening on the surface, we have something that helps us center. And that doesn't mean that it's stagnant or, it's not like this. It's really in relationship to the waters and in relationship to what's going on. And so if you can put your feet flat on the floor, please do. If you can't and that's not accessible to you, just be in a position that most works for your body, that you feel as relaxed as possible. And so I'm going to ask you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. If it doesn't feel comfortable to close your eyes, just make them a little soft so that your gaze is focused somewhere and you're not necessarily distracted by everything or anything that's going on. Even like I don't know about you, but sometimes when I get my body still, I'm twitching. And so I just want us to be able to just like come and anchor to the center. So if you can soften your eyes or close your eyes, and I want you to take a slow breath and I want you to bring it in through your nose and then out through your mouth. Again, bring it in through your nose and then out through your mouth. So if we can just continue, what I want you to notice is if there is anxiety, where is it living in your body right now? I generally feel my anxiety, interestingly enough, like in my hands or in the tightness of my chest. Maybe it's somewhere else for you. Just scan your body and check. Where is it? And maybe here you're strong in your upper body. Maybe you're feeling strong in your hands. You're feeling like your mind is sharp. But underneath in your belly area, it's a little strange. It's a little off. So I want you to check, like really lean into your body. If your kids are home, if your day-to-day life has been altered in any way, shape, or form, as it is for so many, I just want you to notice, how are you feeling? And what are the feelings coming up and where are they stored in your body? Once you're able to do that, I want you to keep your breathing going. I want you to inhale and then exhale. And as you're doing that and you notice wherever the energy is at, it's energy, it's all energy, right? Even if it's nervous energy, it's energy nonetheless. And as you notice wherever it's at in your body, when you take the next inhale, I just want you to send so much pink, soft, violet light to it. Like if you can imagine just like this beautiful little globe of soft light, like one of those, like if you're doing blowing bubbles and you got that perfect globe, and you're just going to send that to the place in your body where you're feeling the tension or you're feeling the nervousness. What tends to happen during times like this is that there's a lot of, because of the upheaval, the tendency is to really like step into a space where our root chakra, our safety is being questioned. And because our safety is being questioned, like all our other energy systems can get a little like, everybody's on alert. And that's valid. That's valid to notice. We're on alert. So can we send, again, you're going to make little round bubbles, soft pink and violet light. And when you inhale, send it to wherever you need it. And then when you exhale, just see it like dissipating in that area. So let's inhale again. And then we exhale. In the next one, send some to your heart space because we're holding a lot. Even if you're not the type of person who gets frazzled or dazzled, we're still energetically connected as a community and as a society. And so when you inhale again, take a nice, beautiful bubble and kind of send it to your heart space. May we be comforted. May we be strengthened in that space. Remembering that the earth is always beneath us as long as we're all like here and standing here and being here now. So let's take another deep breath. If there's any other place, maybe your shoulders, maybe the back of your neck, I want you to send some soft pink and violet light to it and just allow it to do that to your body, like, and bring it in. And for me, it's like the hand movement, right? Because it's energy. And so once you do that and you bring it back in, I want you to imagine like little anchors, right? Cutie little anchors. And in this last breath, I want you to send them into the earth. And I want you to imagine them coming from your hands and coming from your body, your energy. So let's do that. Inhale. And when you exhale, imagine yourself like a spidey person and just let it anchor you into the earth, into the soil, into the richness. In this earth, there are anchors, there are rocks, there are crystals, gems, there's minerals. There's so much available to us energetically and literally, right? It's the place where we get our food from. So let's one more time. Inhale, exhale, and anchor out into the earth. And with a deep bow of gratitude, give thanks. We're so grateful, no matter where we're at and what is going on for us, for the support of our benevolent and loving ancestors, our spirit guides, all the ways that everything rises up to meet us and to support us, angels, plant medicine, earth medicine, air medicine, fire medicine, water medicine, meeting us where we're at. And even if where we're at feels a little off-centered, it meets us there. Everything about that which is our connected reality is with us, and I'm grateful for that. And so as we kind of lean into that as the premise for our time together and really deciding like, okay, here we are, we're anchoring. I'm going to put some Palo Santo and some frankincense on the smoker here. And so what I'd love for you to do is, as I'm putting it on, what are things that you want to elevate so that the smoke can take up as an offering? Maybe it's fear. Maybe there's a lot going on for you and your family in terms of mental health, physical health, right? So I'm going to put it in. Here we go. Do some frankincense first, and then some Palo Santo. Y'all, this is such good medicine. There aren't even words for how much I love Palo Santo as medicine, and also how important it is, our practices around getting access to it, right? So if you can imagine, the smoke is starting to go up. I'll show it to you. Here it is. Here's the smoke, my friends. We offer this to hold all the pieces, all the ways in which this stuff is just wreaking havoc on our nervous system as a collective. And what's interesting is that we forget that if we're not in community or you're used to being by yourself, you forget that energetically we're all literally connected. And when there's things going on, it impacts us not necessarily all in the same way. And so I want us to be mindful of that. So I have that burning there. What would be amazing if you can comment, if it's possible, maybe a tip or something that you're doing during this season, during this time, to whatever is it that you need. Some folks are so calm that they need a moment to flip their shit. So maybe you need to flip your shit and the way, and you can do that in such a responsible way and be like, what the fuck is happening, right? So maybe you have a what the fuck moment, and maybe your practice around what the fuck is to go to the yard and start, I don't know, like digging your garden for the spring or something like that, and start moving that energy that way. Maybe you're a what the fuck all the time person and shit just always feels what the fuck. And so maybe your practice is a little different. Maybe you're getting your sheets together and snuggie on the bed and, slowing it down. Maybe you're Netflixing it. Maybe you're making love. Maybe you're deep breathing. Maybe you're cooking and making some bread. I don't know. So I'd love to hear what you're doing. And please comment below so like that we're able to share with each other and really mirror to each other what's possible for some of us. And then others of us were like, I'm in a what the fuck. I feel like I'm gonna be in a what the fuck. And I want you to just watch it, like, right? Just track it. What is your relationship to that? And what are the things in your life that have become, that have a different texture now because you've realized and because you've noticed that something we've come to rely on has now dissipated or is now in question, and we don't know that. I was talking with amazing sister of mine, and we were joking around because I come from, like, my mama taught me how to open a can with a knife because in Puerto Rico when I was a child, there were storms, the lights would go out, as evidenced by the hurricanes that we've had in these last seasons. And there wasn't space to flip out in those other ways. There was survival. There was like, oh, how are we going to do this? So there was always little children because I'm the oldest of 8. And so it meant somewhere between my mom and I, like handling food or handling dinners and handling that stuff. And also me taking my siblings and doing fun stuff. Right. So I spent a lot of time in the backyard making mud pies with cinder blocks as the kitchen, to keep my siblings busy when things were really hard and we didn't know where food was coming from or what was going to happen. And so that changes my relationship to these things because I have some experience with, and like my beautiful daughter had said, and poverty. Poverty teaches you how to make, 1 can of salsa last a long ass time, tomato sauce rather. So if you can share, I'm just going to read because on Instagram, yeah, slowing down, reading more, cooking more, trying to meditate and center daily. Absolutely. Creating art, trying to find inspiration, going through all your shit and throwing stuff out, taking naps, meditation, grieving, letting yourself cry. Absolutely. To me, that's so important, right? Like, we have access to so many tools right now. Everybody's like, yoga classes, meditation classes. And my question this afternoon on Facebook, or rather my observation was like, I want us to notice how much we're like engaging in social media. How much are we going outside of ourselves because we're afraid? And what does it look like to take this time to actually be in notice of our lives, right? Be in notice of what's present and being noticed, like, where are you in your lifestyle? Because what would need to be shifted in this regard? Like, what needs your attention that now is about to get a whole bunch of it? And I love that you're saying like clearing out shit, because there's a pause. Even if you're the type of person who is not really busy in outward ways, there is this like, what are we going to do with this pause that is so loaded energetically in our own lives? Because how we are here in our own center and in our own world is how we'll impact the collective, right? And so it's such a dynamic relationship that to be in notice is to say to ourselves, okay, it is so hyper individualized that now we're like, wait a minute, if you're buying up all the toilet paper, what is going to happen? And thinking back to like, there was a time we used wash rags and we ain't have no disposable shit, right? And so it's like, what part of our lives are needing kind of a reassessment? How much has modernity, I can't say this word right, or I'm going to give it a try. Modernity, awful, has impacted how we see our lives and how we engage food and how we engage access to getting here or there, right? And so now we're noticing how many of us don't have access to a whole lot of things. And we're trying to make sure that our elders and those whose resources are limited have access to things. There's some questions that we need to ask ourselves about how we're living in this society, in a big way, and in a way that to me merits some contemplation. And I was talking with my daughter yesterday. We were both talking about, like, our lifestyles are such in a way that, like isolation or being quarantined doesn't feel like a negative thing because it's kind of the way we move. But it definitely caused me to reflect for myself the way I've gotten away from things like being able to make more things from scratch. Like, I have a whole host of books. There was a time where I was so into all of that. Grinded my grains, made my like 12 loaves of bread for my family, and then moved into biscuits and stuff like that. And I really started reflecting because I'm single now, I'm by myself. And if I'm cooking for me, which I don't mind cooking for me. And some days I don't want to. So I'll choose to eat something light. But having said that, I realized I was like, oh, I think it's time to come back to some really basic things and really shift the way I'm dependent on something or how I'm looking at resources and how I'm engaging in them. And so I want to offer up that the places that would show up in frustration that we don't have access to anymore, or that things are not the same, how this is an opportunity to really be in observation around what our lives are actually looking like for us. What does our relationship to food look like? How much of it is already processed? How much is not processed? What can we grow? What are we saving ourselves? And not saving just for us. And I was thinking about this earlier, which I'm so grateful for so much of the community that I'm tapped into, where folks can ask each other, hey, do you have this or you have that? And that are naturally thinking about community resource. And that for you to have and for me to have means for us to have. And so some of the deeper questions that we can begin to, like, what the medicine is in this time is like asking ourselves, how is your support system? What does it look like? If you didn't, what are the things in your life that you don't have in a structured support system? So who do you call when you need something? What does that look like? Do you have a barter community where you can be like, I have a dozen eggs. Great, I have bread, right? Like, starting to ask, right? Absolutely. Our convenience and productivity-based culture, right? And so, like, here we are. This is massive for our lifetime. This is really massive. I was thinking, like, what are the big things in my lifetime that I've experienced? So I've experienced hurricanes in Puerto Rico with my mom. I've experienced, like, when the Berlin Wall was being, like, all these historical events, right? And this is really big, but it's also a real place to start thinking about how are we living. And I mean, I'm watching like Facebook and I'm watching Instagram as I get on it myself and check in and do my check-ins, right? I'm watching how much we're on it and like how much that becomes the way that we're connecting. But for every way that we're doing this and we're watching and being connected to something external in social media, in equal measure, the energetic cords are coming this way. And so I'm like, wait, before you're like, what am I going to do with my time? I want us to be mindful how much we're engaging in the energetic, like, beacon of social media, how often we're on there because we're so uncomfortable with being quiet at home. We're uncomfortable with so many things. And so I want us to be able to be in a space of going, okay, right? Like, what is my life? What would happen if we didn't have internet? I'm not going to say anything, but there's some really hard lessons that we're learning. And it seems that they need to be hard lessons for us to be even in a reflective space, right? And so the question is, what needs changing in our lives? Do we need to have an internet shutdown, right? Yeah, actually, so what I would offer up in terms of disconnecting, I would literally you can put your phone, look at your phone and set times that you want to check into things. But for the most part, leave your phone either off or shut off the notifications, shut off the settings that, get into your settings and shut off the things that constantly pull at you so that you only have your phone available for phone calls if need be, or a FaceTime if need be, and not necessarily social media. And again, I get that it becomes a resource for connection, and I totally understand that. And I want us to evaluate the quality of the connection. Because if after mindlessly scrolling, which y'all know that shit happens, you're interested in the first couple, then you keep on going. After mindlessly scrolling, we're no richer for it. We just disassociated or steps into an avoidance pattern. And I want us to be able to track that, not judge it. Judge it does nothing, because if we judge it, then we're going to get in that particular loop and it gets us nowhere. And this is really about being anchored. And again, back to the visual of what keeps us, no matter what's happening in the sea, what keeps us still anchored is going to become important. So being able to set your phone, set your time when you want to be on social media. What are you going to look at and what are you going to check into? And so I know that there's a lot of us sharing stuff about COVID-19 and the CDC and all of that. You're welcome. I would suggest that you either go straight to the website yourself so that you're getting direct information, and that if you're going to take any other particular counsel, because everybody's sharing stuff, I would highly suggest that you get it from folks that you trust. And that also, so even as an herbalist, my thing is, even for me, I'm watching and tracking, and I check my mentors that I trust and I respect. And what causes me to respect them and trust them is not just because they've been in a book, but they've also been in the field. And so for me, I watch 7 Song is really big for me. Rosemary Gladstar is really big for me, right? Your Black, Brown, Indigenous folks that are literally have been in their communities doing this herbal work, because they'll be able to speak to things that someone who's just been in book knowledge hasn't been able to be in experience with. And so I'll more readily listen to that and consider that still than I would scan whatever everybody's sharing. To me, that's so dangerous, because it's when we're most hungry for connection or most hungry for assurance. And that's why we need to use our social media responsibly, right? What are we saying? What are we putting out there? What are we communicating? So I get the folks that are putting up super meditation shit and all of that. And I get that. And I think there's a space to hold the tension for how, for some bodies literally are in activated trigger wise, and their CPTSD is kicking in, and they're either frozen or just want to run. And so I want us to be able to have space for some of those conversations, right? And rather than trying to eliminate fear is similar to anger. Fear lets us know something. It's when fear sleeps over, if you will, that it becomes toxic for our bodies. But fear is a root chakra, right? That energetic safety and security foundation. Fear lets us know that something feels extremely unsafe. And so we will step into a space of thinking differently. It just can't stay over. It can't play, right? I'm not your playground, fear, right? It's one of those where we can be okay, I understand I'm scared, and I'm scared because, and then we get to answer that. And then the question becomes after that, what can I do to support myself so that the fear, which is based on the unknown and the mystery, is no longer a mystery, right? So what are the resources that you have access to? What's the community you have access to? What are you putting on your social media that you're contributing to others as well? If you're like myself and you have a channel or you have a space. Somebody's burning food. The alarm is going off. So as I'm talking, I'm shuffling the Oracle deck. This is the everyday, it's not the everyday witch, but it's related. It's the everyday witch Oracle deck. And so I'll be pulling from here just as a support system. And so this is the time where Rebecca, I love what you said, because like when you're going through your stuff and kind of clearing out your stuff, this is a good time. Yeah, absolutely. The do not disturb on your phone. Word. It's really important. Quality over quantity, right? Like if we're constantly getting bombarded by the messages, it's hard to be able to make sense in the energetic noise. And that's what I'm noticing, right? And so when people are posting a lot, I get worried. And what worries me, and not like I'm meditating on it, right? Worried. What concerns me is that what is happening for you? If you're doing a play-by-play and you're exposing your life so much out there, what's going on for you? Do you have your protection around? Do you have your tools? Did you call in the angels in the four corners of your energetic existence, right? Like, did you say a prayer, right? Like, when I get on social media in any way, shape, or form, I'm always stepping it in with a prayer of covering and protection energetically, because I recognize that I'm opening the portal, right? I'm opening the portal in the massive matrix. And I want to be able to handle that in a way that's generative for me. And so really watching and being mindful around that, it's going to be important in these days. And also, what are the things in your life that need tending to? Right? So that is a huge ass question. What needs tending to that we've been running from? What needs noticing? What needs your gentleness and your compassion? How are your relationships, your close relationships? Because this is that, what is our lives actually composed of and full of? That must be my upstairs neighbor. I love it. That's the medicine we want to look at. And we want to start looking. My daughter at Saltwater Stars often shares from an apocalypse perspective. And I really appreciate that. And that can be triggering for some folks. But I really appreciate what are the ways that we want to live into the future? And rather than the overproductive, get your hustle on your, everyone has access to you, which for me is a really challenging thing when I'm doing a podcast or when I'm doing work outside of my home. Like even now, right now I'm on here and you have access, right? We have access to each other energetically. Really watching that, really watching the quality of that, and really being able to say to ourselves, okay, if we're so exposed and there's so much energetic exchange between us and others, what are the things that we need to care for? And what are the things that we need to shut down in order to have for ourselves a container of space to hear what we're thinking, to be with what we're feeling? What are the practices? And maybe you already have practices and maybe you need different practices to really step into a deeper space with yourself, right? Because again, the amount and the capacity that we're able to be with ourselves in this time is the amount and capacity that we actually have to share with one another. And so I don't know about you, but there's times that I find myself giving space to other things and other folks when I haven't had space to myself. And so what I do is I get quiet, which my family is not a lover of, because it's like, hello, are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. I'm quiet because I'm honoring the fact that whenever I'm engaging, I'm exchanging so much and I'm creating a container of balance so that I can be noticing for what's happening for me, right? And not just how can I be of service to my community, but how can I be of service to myself? Do I need to turn off the phone? Do I need to move away from just scrolling mindlessly? Do I need to go for a walk and connect with the river and connect with the air in that way Do I need to shift and, like beautiful sister on here, Nikesha Breeze, has been having some energetic movement support, right? And so what does it look like if I need to tap into that as a different container to hold me through the time? I need to be able to have the space to notice that. And to me, that's the medicine. The medicine of this time is the noticing that's going to happen if we allow ourselves that opportunity. And we don't have to do that subtracting from being aware of what's going on, being up to date with the information, or being in right relationship with our support systems and how we're accessing one another. We need to have conversations about, right, water. Like, what are we doing with water? And water is gone from the shelves. And is plastic contained water the only water that we will have access to if we need to? We need to talk about that. We need to talk about filtration systems. We need to talk about how we're looking at moving toward the future, because we'll have moments in our collective history to come that will require us opportunities, that will offer us opportunities that require of us to move differently, to shift the way we're connecting either to each other, to the resources of the earth, right, to the resources of the collective, but also the structural oppression that continues to keep in place with checks and balances folks who do not have access to that. What does it look like to become places or people that we're actually watching for each other? That we know who has the generator for the person who needs the machines to still go on if we lose, right, electric, or if we lose access to energy. We have to have these conversations. Are we canning food? Who's canning food? Do you know the shelf life of canning, right? Like, these are important conversations, and these are things that we can do with joy and not from a place of terror, which is different, right? We can really start thinking about how we want to live moving forward. Now, recognizing that the times to come will offer us opportunities for realignment. This is not the first, it will not be the last. So this is an opportunity for all of us, the way we get to share with each other and be with each other. Start asking ourselves, what are the ways in which my life is like on automatic pilot? If my food is on automatic pilot, my banking system on automatic pilot, like all these things that we're like, oh, that's technology, that's being up to date. We want to examine that. We always want to be examining our relationship to resource. And there's ways where I'm like, and I told my daughter when we were talking yesterday, I said, now it's allowing me to reflect like what my relationship with food looks like right now. And it's different than when I was younger. And it's different as a single person. What does my own support system and community connection look like? How am I holding that? How connected am I or not connected? And add that if we have to choose, I'm splitting the cards. If we have to choose between how much we're putting out, especially if you're an entrepreneur and your happy ass is constantly putting out there, and you're constantly creating, the question is, what needs to shift so that there's much more space for your internal connections to be solid and not transactional, but relational? And this is what the earth is granting us an opportunity. They are saying, what is your relationship? How are you learning? What is your ecology looking like? And these are the places that we want to step into and really start looking at, am I in a space where I feel supported, where my friend, my whatever is just a text away, a call away? Like, did I can or did I save or dehydrate food enough for 10 people? Like, do you have access to that? If you're the person who has access to that, what do the tight-knit communities actually look like? Now, there's some ways in which when you pour, these are the ways you learn to survive, right? And so I want us to be able to examine where we're at, how we're seeing ourselves in this time. How many times do you actually disassociate? How many times are you actually in avoidance? How many times do you reach for your phone? And how many times that's about quantity and not quality? What are you listening to and what are you watching? Where are you? Right? And so these are the great questions we get to ask ourselves. So I pulled 4 cards for us tonight. Um, and I hope this time has been helpful. I hope breathing into this moment. And the reason why we have to breathe in is because it helps us to regulate our nervous system when shit feels so this way or that way. And it's never the judgments about it being this way or that way. It's the noticing of what is actually like generative. Do you feel anchored? There's a difference between trying to feel anchored and like trying to feel centered. And there's something about this language that is beginning to like clicks in a different way for me whenever we need it as like a huge ass resource, because we keep on imagining a very linear like straight process in terms of, oh, I'm centered, I'm unmovable. That does not work like that, and that actually doesn't honor the very dynamic ecology of your internal external world, right? So we're more like this, right? If we can use like body movement to express it. And so there's something about learning belly dancing or some of the other dances, even if you twerk and learn how to isolate your ass, that gives you an opportunity to understand that there you can be in movement and still be anchored, and looking at what's anchoring you. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to look for anchors in your life rather than this very like assumes like you're not moving position, right? Because that's the indigenous path that we a lot of us come from, right? Tribal communities in which when there was such like enormous stuff, we would set the bonfire. It was the community fire. We gathered around it. Our feet hit the ground and our bodies were in movement with chants and with prayers that helped us anchor in times when things were moving fast. And for me, that indigenous technology coming from all the tribes that we come from is something that I think it's important to tap into. And rather than just this very like the stillness that I want to say yoga offers, which I think it's a beautiful body of wisdom. And I want you to start asking whether that wisdom body is something accessible or dynamically aligned with your ancestral wisdom body. Right. So you're trying to do this yoga shit where you're just like super calm and super still. Meanwhile, you come from a peoples whose asses got on them drums, and those drums were so loud that they vibrated and activated every cell in your body. And that was the thing that helped you anchor, but your body was still in movement and in relationship with the earth. And I want us to observe that now. I want us to observe the medicine that we're tapping into and its alignment to support our movement. And I think about the palm tree, being a Boricua, right, in the island, like them storms can kick a palm tree's ass. And that mother will do this, whoop, and come back, right? And then sometimes it'll lean and do that and stay like this for a minute because it took a hit. But the way its resilience, its quality of resilience has a flow that's dynamic. And I want us to step into that. What is the dynamic place you can step into at this time for yourself and also your community? And what are the ways that you need to nourish your roots for yourself first so that you can be available to community? And watching the amount of exchange we're having, like how long we're on here, how long we're sharing with each other. What are we sharing? What are the things that are anchoring and that are not anchoring? Because once we're present with that, we can move. And for me, this is again the medicine of this time is to really become acquainted with where are communities anchored? How are we having different conversations? How are we shifting relationships from transactional to relational, right? Relationship with food, relationship with one another, relationship with resource. Because in that, right, that shifts, like we're able to be, and again, and I'll say it, and me and my girlfriend, um, my homegirl, she my homegirl. Okay, Yavila and I get on that phone and we are tearing it up. And we were talking about where we come from. We were talking about how we move as community. And when you've known some shit, your response and your reaction to it is different. I come from a people, if you haven't noticed, who's like on the island making it work, carrying generators, plugging them like across like freaking neighborhoods and like through ravines. And our resilience is incredible, painfully so. And yet we all have access to create community and move in a different way. And that's what I desire for us. I desire us, hello, I desire us to be in a different space around how we're looking at this, to see the medicine of it and to shift toward the future that is sustainable for you and the community. So watch how you're engaging, watch how much you're engaging, watch the quality of what you're putting out there, watch yourself. Are again, and I say this a lot because I think the disconnect, the avoidance, I think the disassociation are methods and tools that we use that work temporarily but not long term. Are there things that you've been running from in your own life that you need to come back to and center, right? Like anchor in, be in dynamic relationship. So I pulled 4 Oracle deck for this time and I want to share it with you. We're coming soon to the hour, and I hope that this was supportive and helpful, because I think that sometimes with the modern world, we forget some really basic shit. And in forgetting our basic shit, it harms the future that we're trying to create. And while we have access to abundance and we have access to beauty, that is created specifically in community. And not just long distance community, but are literal the people we're connected to, right? And there may be ways where you haven't been taking care of that community or present in it in a way that's invested, right? That's not just like, hey, and not just transaction, but actually relationship. We're checking into how are we feeling? What is needed? How's our mental health? Are we triggered during this time? For some of us who have had really dark experiences in poverty or really dark experiences around natural disasters, how are the people? Our elders? That's a great conversation. Why are we fucking having that conversation now? Why is it that we don't have a pulse on our elders? What, right? Like, so the medicine, how have we become the generation that has lost touch with our most important people? Our elders are our memory keepers. How did we get there? If that's what being modern means, fuck modern, right? Like, what does it mean to shift your life so that you're much more connected and grounded in your community, right? What does it mean to be connected to our food rather than a transactional thing where we go and buy? But now what does it look like to grow your own indoor garden? What does it look like to think about water filtration rather than just accessing water so liberally that's been sitting in a plastic, right? Like, let's start asking the hard questions. Where is our food coming from? How much of your food are you actually in relationship to making? And is it just you? Because it's easy to just worry about you, but that's not the act of community. The solidarity in community is that if I have, you have. So do we have? And so I just want us to be able to pull that medicine in, right? And be like, oh, let me start asking myself questions about my lifestyle, because my lifestyle hasn't been healthy, right? And I've been everywhere else except anchored in my own body. So if we can just bring that medicine back, right? And I say back because it's the medicine that we come from. It's medicine in our DNA. It's activated in our system, right? Hey, gorgeous. It's medicine where we get to tap into and say, okay, my ancestors knew how to build a fire. I mean, my people still know how to build a fire, how to una masa de harina, and make some arepas and cook them babies with a big pot of beans, even if you don't have the rice. And this, we used to say in my family, en el arca de Noé caben todos y tú también, right? In Noah's Ark, everybody fits, and also you. I mean, we could change Noah's name to some matriarchal name, but that's another situation. We can talk about that later, right? But just this idea, let's return to that and to be with that medicine so that when moments happen, again, it won't be the first and it won't be the last. That we don't have to just entirely give over to just again, the fear is necessary. And the reason why fear is necessary in our collective beacon, again, don't sleep with fear, don't have it over for dinner every day. It's not your friend like that, right? Fear lets us know that at a root level, there's a security breach and a safety breach. As a community, we're realizing, for those who have not realized how delicate the lines and the structures are. And our sister, Sonia Taylor, I think it is, who is the author of The Body's Not an Apology. My daughter sent me her IG story or TV, and she talked about like the structures. It was a really beautiful chat around how we're looking at what's going on, and that even folks who have privilege have to question what's good, because now where there's all these systems that are impacted by a pandemic, it causes you to reevaluate what your life looks like. And even with that, some folks still have access that other folks don't have. So once we're able to tap into, first and foremost, yourself, how you're moving, how you're being, where are you, how much you're avoiding and running from your own life. So this is an opportunity to sit your happy ass down and start checking your shit, and the pulse of your own life and the quality of your own relationships, past the high and the bye, but actual relating, and also looking at your relationship with food, water, resources. So I hope this was helpful. I'm going to share the cards. And my prayer for us, truly, my prayer is that we can hear what spirit and the ancestors are speaking. We can hear what those from the future are speaking to us and letting us know in the ways that we can be in community with one another, but also be in our bodies. There is a whisper that's happening that you must be in listening for. And you can't be in listening for that if there's so much noise all around you. So I want you to check that, because the specific medicine that needs to come through you to be a collective gift to yourself and to our community is needed. And this is why you must listen, because you have a piece of the medicine. I have a piece of the medicine. And all the pieces together will create that which will sustain our community so that we all have, and there's not lacking because we're not connected enough, right? And so I want you to be in that listening. Are you listening? Are you listening deeper to what is reverberating in the energetic realm? And that is my hope. And in order to do that, we have to regulate our nervous system, right? And be supported and check in with one another. So here are the cards. Are you ready? Accept love. I just love the color of the card. During this time, are there ways that you can lean into accepting love and care from others? If you're one of those folks who are super self-sufficient and always on your own joint, you move like that, you're one of those people. I'm not one of those. I don't. There's nothing about me that's like that. And nevertheless, receiving support, asking for help. What if help looks like being able to get a hug in a time where touch is being absent? That's a big thing. And so can we accept love? Can we offer it to one another? What are the ways in which you need to accept love? The next card is joy and delight. I dig it. I dig it. Because, so the next question, right? What are the ways in which joy and delight is accessible to you outside of social media, outside of Netflix, outside of fancy schmancy vacations and or massages, unless you got really dope community that gives you massages. Yeah, all I have some folks like that. They just don't live near me. Actually, I do have a friend who would if I asked, absolutely. Right. But like really checking in to where is the joy and the delight And is that a natural thing you have access to, or is it something that this is a time for you to cultivate independently of circumstance? Which y'all, I don't know if you ever been through shit, but I've been through some shit. And trying to cultivate that motherfucker when you in some shit is some shit. But I think we can do it. Air magic. I love this. This is a beautiful card. And I consider myself an air witch because I'm a word witch, right? And so, as a bruja who uses words, the question is, how can we be in breath? Breath as a way to regulate, breath as a way to speak into a future and a present that is so necessary. How are you using that magic? How are you using incantation as a way to support community? What is the quality of your words? And again, that's like, so we have accept love, we have joy and delight, we have air magic, and the last card is make a move. You're gonna love this. Look at that card. I know y'all, there's a bunch of white people on these cards and or light skinned people, you know, life be like that. I'm over here showing it up here, but I didn't show it down here. Here is make a move. Here is air magic. Here is joy and delight. Looks so fun. And then here's accept love. So the last one being the make a move. What I want us to observe is actually the amount of abundance and resource that's accessible. And I want to ask you, what's your relationship to nature like in these times? What's your relationship to the sun like? Like every time I see it out, I go outside and I stand by my door and just try to take as much of it in. And so I offer, what is your relationship, right, to what you actually have access to? And you can do that. You can be in your joy and you can be in gratitude and also hold the tension of the fact that there's people that do not have access to what you have access to. And also be in support of how we move resource to each other. We have the capacity to handle both of those things. And I want us to inhabit that because I think sometimes people run and avoid situations or people that are in a really hard knocks and in a really bad place because they think it's going to bring them down. If your joy is that fragile, my friend, I suggest you cultivate a joy that can withstand the test of time. And that's an attention and an orientation that is going to be super important moving forward. So again, I hope that this was helpful. I'm not trying to add to our already overloaded, like everybody's on social media doing everything, which is beautiful and overwhelming. Take care of yourself and get off your fucking phone long enough to be able to even hear your own mind, right? Create your energetic protection, pull your energy in so that whatever healing needs to happen for you is accessible to you because you're present with that. And then you can be in very real ways present with others as well. I wish you so much support. If you need anything in any way, shape, or form, if you just need to share something or just like an elevation of prayer, you can inbox me, DM me, and when I light incense, I will offer up your prayer. And know that I do that every day. So you could drop it in my inbox in the morning or my inbox in the evening. And I'll find it. I'll find it for sure. And when I elevate prayers, it'll be part of the prayers. And know that this is also an opportunity to be connected in these ways that are also energetically sound. So I love you. Thank you so much for being with me in this time. Thank you for your love and support. And pa'lante y junto. Together, forward, and together. There's no other way that we can rock this if we're not together in it. So I hope you are well. Please let me know how you're doing. Are you being resourced? Are your needs being met? Do you have access? What is it that you need? And what are the ways that we can collectively connect as community? Again, quality over quantity in your connection. There's so much coming at us. It's an overload to the system. If we can look at our energetic mainframe, it is overloaded. So please be mindful at what you're taking in and be mindful at the quality of it. So, los amo con todo mi corazón. Adiós y hasta luego. I'll see you soon. Adiós.